Welcome back. I'm Lenny McAllister. You're watching the Pittsburgh Cable News Channel. Let's get to the point time. Dr. Shuster, when we sit here and look at what President Obama did on the 20th with his speech, he's also trying to cement a legacy. What exactly is he trying to lay out with that speech at the beginning of 2015 so that when we look back at his legacy starting in 2015, there's a proper reflection of what he wants? What is he going after with that?
Well, first of all, there are two major objectives he has to achieve for him, one for him personally and one for his party. He cannot make the party totally devoid or lifeless. There's a presidential election coming up, and he knows he's got to put the Democrats in a position where they have any one of the eligible candidates can realistically be a candidate that could win the presidency. So he can't make too many mistakes. The other is
could he even make those mistakes considering that the Republicans won't let him? At this point in time, even if he wanted to make a big gaffe per se, there's enough Republicans on both sides of the Congress where he can basically be that Democratic bully from the bully pulpit and not have to worry about the American people really getting too angry with him.
Yeah, but the American people know, as Olivia said earlier, economics is critical to the middle class and to even members of the constituency that's less or lower on the economic level. If they don't feel better, quote unquote, at the end of 2 years, are they going to blame the president? Or are they going to blame the Republicans for being, creating the wall that doesn't permit success? That they are so recalcitrant about allowing the president to achieve some of his goals that by and large the people who don't benefit are the very people who could elect them.
But it's interesting, you said something during the break as well, talking about him moving into that role of senior statesman within the Democratic Party. And Olivia, I want to go to you on this as a Democratic strategist. If that's the case, then wouldn't it behoove him to do this wonderful balancing act of, I would like to get some stuff done, but I don't want to compromise with the Republicans too much, because in order to be that firebrand for the Democratic Party as a retiring two-term president, I can't acquiesce too much with the Republicans lest I damage our candidates in 2016.
I think right now the American public is at a point that we've seen, essentially, the last 2 years or even 4 years of just very divisive politics where nothing has gotten done. So I think the American public is very interested in seeing how the president can wordsmith or compromise with the Republicans, and also seeing what Republicans have, brought to the table. They ran on a platform of, we're different, we have ideas, our ideas aren't getting heard, so if we can get a majority, we'll be able to get our ideas out there and get things done. So I think it's a compromise of both. But moving forward, more importantly for the 2016 election, Obama won with women, single women, with minorities, with first-time voters, with a diverse group of constituents that haven't showed up in midterm elections. So he needs to find a way to do some things that inspire those voters to show up in 2016, or there won't be a Democratic president moving forward.
But interestingly enough, I hear what you two are saying, but John, this is where I'm coming from with this. There are two brand names that, generally speaking, poll worse than President Obama at any given time of his presidency. You know what they are, right? Number one is Congress, and number two is the Republican Party. Because if you go to the average American in swing state America, even if they are disgusted with some of the things that have happened under the Obama administration and his tenure, they still look at Congress with an approval rating of about 11%, and they still would rather blame the Republican Party as being obstructionist than blaming the White House. And as long as that stays the same, isn't he safe regardless of what he does, even with the tone that he may have set in 2015 or he may set next year?
I don't think it really matters, quite frankly, because I think Hillary Clinton's going to end up being the nominee in 2016 for the Democrats. I think it's already, I don't care who they put out there, I think she's going to end up being it. I think for him, the last 2 years is about finding a way to compromise with the Republican Congress to get some things enacted that cement his legacy as a two-term president, somebody that broke ground, that is trying to, end this gridlock that we've had inside Washington the last few years. I don't think it really matters what he does. I think Hillary's going to end up being the 2016 nominee, and I think he's more focused on what he can do to cement his legacy.
Well, is that the reason why we heard about the free community college? Is that the reason why we heard about this term of middle class economics coming out because that's where he wants his legacy to be, opening the bridge more for everyday Americans and middle class Americans? Is that the reason why we heard these terms so much when it came to the speech?
You know, you see, the top percentages in America, the wealthiest, whatever percent, is doing really well under this president. It's the middle class that hasn't seen those gains. And so why not talk about community college when, a lot of students pursue community college in the first place anyway because of the higher cost of a 4-year degree. They go 2 years at a community college and then they head off to a 4-year institution.
Yeah, but we also talked about the state of education as well. I mean, I mentioned it in the starting point where a lot of these kids are going in the first year and a half, they're taking remedial courses. So, and you have 4-year people that have graduated with degrees that can't find work commensurate to the education that they have. So it seems as though maybe there's a disconnect in regards to what he's trying to do. Is it more about putting pathways into place like he did with the Affordable Care Act, or is it more about, I want the economy to look like this, I want the unemployment rate to look like this when I leave office?
I think it's important to think about, the jobs that are available right now, and a lot of community colleges offer those programs. So, if we can get people to that pipeline and to that pathline to get into those, high, tech degrees or learning to code, that's an employment at age 20 versus, possibly going to a 4-year school and not finding that same employment level. I'm not saying that, you should discount the value of a college education or you should discount people that go 4 years, but this is an opportunity to get people into school versus working at a minimum wage job.
Dr. Shuster, people say he threw a lot of stuff out there that he knew he could not get past, but out of all those things that quote unquote he can't get past, what's the one thing he really wants to get past in regards to his legacy that he mentioned in the State of the Union address?
Well, clearly he wants to reinforce the power that he created by Affordable Health Care Act. They know that health care is still a major area given the growing demographic of the elderly in the country. That's number one. And then general economics. The middle class, as Olivia said, is going. The top 5% of the country has generated a significant increase in income and power and wealth, while the middle class has pretty much stayed stagnant. They've got to find a way that the middle class generates at least some semblance of success in financially and also in other economically all over. That's not happening for them.
Well, we're going to try to revisit Tom Wolf real quick when we come back from break. Don't you go anywhere. We're talking about a tale of two speeches, President Obama's, Governor Wolf's, here on Night Talk. Get to the point.